Hello friends, welcome to the first session of unit number 5 of one of the important subjects of first year engineering, that is basic electrical and electronics engineering. Our unit number 5 deals with analog and digital electronic circuits. So, these circuits are basically based on whatever you have studied up to unit number 4. So, based on that we will be studying these analog and digital electronic circuits, which are little bit complex than the circuits what you have studied till now. So, let us see what are the contents of this particular unit. So, we are going to study what is analog and digital signal, and we will see their comparison. Then what is analog electronics? In that we are going to study one analog electronic circuit, that is operational amplifier, the details about that, how it is implemented, how it works, and what are its applications. So, we will be studying few applications. Then in digital electronics we will be studying what is digital electronics, then what is the basic digital electronic circuit, which we call it as logic gate, their types, then what is Boolean algebra, how we can simplify these Boolean expressions by using this algebra, then what is SR flip-flop, then we will be introducing you to microcontroller, Arduino, and the fundamentals of Internet of Things. For your reference, if you want to understand the topic in depth, or those who are interested in some more information, these are the two books. For analog electronics, you can refer the book by Ramakant Gaikwad, which is very famous and very easy book to understand, whose title is Op-amps and Linear Integrated Circuits, which is published by PHI publication. And for digital, you can refer R.P. Jain, whose title is Modern Digital Electronics, and it is published by Tata McGraw-Hill Education. Let us start with the actual contents of this particular topic. So, what is signal? Now, I am sure as far as the signal is concerned, we all are using this signal in our day to day life. Now, see, for example, signal means what? It is basically some function, okay, some action which we are executing. For example, if I do like this, then you understand that I am saying to somebody that can we have lunch. So, my action, this functionality is conveying some information. So, this is known as signal. So, signal is what? It is a function that conveys information about a phenomena or maybe about the physical quantity. So, that is a signal, it is a physical signal. Now, if we convert this information into an electrical signal, then it is known as the electrical signal. Means if you convert this information into electrical form, then it is known as electrical signal, and this electrical signal is suitable for the further processing, so that we can process this information signal and we can generate some output. Then based on the nature of this electrical signal, it has got two types, one is analog signal, another one is digital signal. Now, let us see what is analog signal. So, analog signal is what? It is a signal whose amplitude varies continuously with respect to time, is known as the continuous signal or analog signal. Now, here we have shown for your reference two signals. Now, you can see this is one signal which is a sine wave. So, you can see here this is a sine wave, and this is a complex signal which basically contains multiple sine and cosine waves. Now, in both these signals you can see the amplitude of the signal continuously changes with respect to time. Okay. Here also the same thing, but here in this case it has got cyclic nature, means after this particular time again it has the same repetition pattern. So, this is a repetitive signal, but analog signal may not be repetitive, it can have the random nature also. So, this is a analog signal. Then next we will see what is digital signal. So, the difference here is what? A signal whose amplitude varies at discrete intervals with respect to time, it is known as digital or the discrete signal. So, the difference continuous and discrete. So, in case of digital signal, what happens is that, see, the amplitude of the signal varies at the discrete time intervals. For example, see, from this time to this time, the signal amplitude is maybe suppose 5 volt. Okay. After this, up to this time, it is 0 volt. Okay. This is 0 volt. Okay. This level is 0. After this time, again it is changing, again it is 5 volt. So, the amplitude is changing at discrete intervals of time. See, but here in this case this is 5 volt, again here it is 5 volt, it need not be 5 volt, it can be 10 volt also. Okay. That depends on the nature of the digital signal, it can have any level. But as far as this digital signal is concerned, you can see here there are two levels, this is 5 volt and this is 0 volt. So, such digital signal is also known as binary signal. This is known as binary signal. Then in this binary signal, this high voltage level, it is known as logic 1, this is known as logic 0. So, this is the digital signal. It is more details we will discuss when we will go to the digital electronics part. Now, next is why basically we have such two types of signals. Okay. Now, see, as far as the basic nature of signal is concerned, in most of the cases our information has got analog nature. Our information signal, when we convert it into the electrical form, its nature is analog. But the analog signal has got certain drawbacks also. So, to avoid those drawbacks, we convert this into digital form and we get some advantages. What are those? So, that we will see. Now, first thing is, if you compare these two, then in analog signal, first is its amplitude varies continuously with respect to time, that is what we have seen in the definition, whereas in digital signal the amplitude varies at discrete intervals of time. Then we have shown the two waveforms, this is analog signal, this is digital signal, just we have seen. Now, the next important point is the bandwidth of analog signal is low, the bandwidth of digital signal is high. So, this is the advantage of analog signal and this is the drawback of the digital signal, but at the cost of the bandwidth we get lot many advantages. What are those? For example, analog signal, it is more sensitive to the noise, whereas digital signal is less sensitive to the noise. Next is, in analog signal it is more sensitive to the noise, and once the noise gets mixed with the analog signal, we can't remove that. What we can do is, we can minimize the mixing of noise with the analog signal. We can design the analog system in such a way that the noise interference is minimal, but whatever, once the noise gets mixed with the analog signal, we can't remove it 100%, we can minimize it. But whereas in digital, we can remove the noise 100%, that is the beauty of the digital signal. Another important feature of the analog signal is, analog signal can't be encrypted, whereas digital signal can be encrypted. Now, see, this encryption is very, very important when we talk about the security of the information, and in the today's world, when we are sending our information quickly at the click of the button from one means location to the other location on the globe. So, in this case, the security of the information is very, very important, and that is possible only in case of digital signal. So, these are some of the important features of analog and digital signals. Now, next we will see what is basically analog electronics. Okay, what is analog electronics? Now, analog electronics is what? The branch of electronics engineering which deals with processing of analog signals is known as analog electronics. Okay. Then what is the analog electronic circuit? Okay. So, an electronic circuit which processes analog signals is known as analog electronic circuit. Okay. So, an electronic circuit which takes analog signal as an input and which gives analog signal as an output, we call it as analog electronic circuit. Now, there are many analog electronic circuits which are available and they are used for various applications. Now, here we are going to study one analog electronic circuit which has got numerous applications, and it is known as operational amplifier. Now, what is this operational amplifier? We will see that. Now, what is operational amplifier? See, when we talk about the amplifier, you have already studied. You know that in the unit number 4 you have studied, we can implement this amplifier by using BJT. When the BJT is operating in the active region, it acts as an amplifier. You know that. So, what amplifier does? It basically amplifies the signal. It amplifies the signal means what? It increases the strength of the signal. So, by using amplifier, if you have a signal whose strength is low, you can increase the strength of the signal without changing its shape. That is the beauty of the amplifier. Okay. Now, the next important point is here we are going to study a complex amplifier, means we are going to study an amplifier which is bit complex than what you have studied in the unit number 4, and this amplifier we call it as operational amplifier. Now, what is operational amplifier? This operational means what? Now, you know that for an engineer the one important subject is mathematics, and we know that mathematics basically deals with what? It deals with various mathematical operations. So, here operational means what? An amplifier which can perform various mathematical operations is known as operational amplifier. Very simple. So, an amplifier which can perform the mathematical operations like addition, subtraction, multiplication, integration, differentiation, okay, and what not. So, we call it as an operational amplifier. Now, the next. So, this is from the functional point of view. Now, from the implementation point of view, how this amplifier is, how it is implemented. So, if you go into the more technical details, then we can have the more technical definition of this amplifier, and this definition is: an operational amplifier is a very high gain direct coupled amplifier having very high input resistance, very low output resistance, and which can amplify AC as well as DC signals. Okay. So, op-amp is an amplifier which can perform mathematical operations. It has got a very high gain, it uses direct coupling, and it has got very high input resistance, and it has got very low output resistance, and it can amplify AC as well as DC signals. So, that is an operational amplifier. Now, this operational amplifier, this is a long name. So, to make it easier to use the name of this particular device again and again, it is abbreviated, or we use its short form, that is the op-amp. So, henceforth we will be using this short form as op-amp. Now, after going through the definition of the operational amplifier, now next we will see how we can implement this, how this operational amplifier can be implemented. Now, in case of the single stage amplifier, you have already studied. Now, this is the single stage amplifier, okay, which you have studied in the unit number 4. Now, this is the amplifier which basically uses BJT. It uses BJT common emitter configuration. Now, in this you know that if the amplifier has to work, then the BJT which is used, it has to be biased in the active region. So, in this case, this collector junction JC, it has to be biased into the reverse bias. This emitter junction JE has to be biased in the forward bias. Then only this transistor will work as an amplifier. Now, to bias this JC junction, we require a very high voltage supply. To bias this junction, we require a very low voltage supply, like 1 volt is sufficient. Here it requires 10, 15 or plus minus 5 volt supply, depending on the design of the amplifier. Now, here what we are doing is, see, we are using here this supply, which basically here no sign means it is positive supply, which is used to bias the JC junction. If you want to bias JE junction, we require again one more supply, but this supply is of 1 volt. So, if you go for a second supply, then the cost of the circuit increases. So, to avoid that and to minimize the cost of this particular circuit, this 1 volt we take from this high voltage supply itself. Now, how we can take that? There are again different ways. So, here what we have done is we have used these two resistances. They are acting as a voltage divider circuit, and we have divided this 15 volt into these two resistances R1 and R2. Their values are chosen in such a way that the potential across this will be around 1 volt, and this 1 volt potential is applied between the base and the emitter, so that they will bias the JE junction, and this JE junction will be biased in the forward bias. Okay. These will be the polarities of this potential 1 volt which is developed across this, which will bias the J into forward bias. So, in this way this amplifier is. Now, in this amplifier we know that if we are using, see, this bias is known as voltage divider bias. If you are using voltage divider bias, then you can't connect directly this input signal which you want to amplify. This is the input signal which you want to amplify. So, this you can't directly connect, because if you connect directly, then this source and this source, they will be directly connected with each other, and these two sources, they will get loaded, because for voltage source we know that internal resistance is very low. For ideal voltage source it is 0. So, because of that these two will get loaded, and because of that means these two sources may be damaged also. So, to avoid that, what we are doing is that we are using here coupling capacitor. This is known as input coupling capacitor. Now, the function of this is what? We know that capacitor acts as open circuit for DC, it acts as short circuit for AC. So, here this capacitor will not allow this DC to go to this side, whereas it will allow this AC, as it is acting short circuit for AC, to go to the input. And in this way, those two sources, they will be kept separate, and at the same time our AC will go to the input which amplifier can amplify. Then we have here, we will be getting the output. So, but here when we take the output, here we will have AC as well as DC. So, to have only amplified AC at the output, we are connecting another coupling capacitor. So, it will not allow DC to go to the output, and here you will have only AC at the output. Okay. Then this we are connecting, RE we are connecting to provide the negative feedback in this amplifier. Now, why to provide this negative feedback? Basically, the purpose of this negative feedback is to avoid thermal runaway. Now, this thermal runaway means what? In transistor, what happens? There is one phenomena in which we know that when we are operating this transistor for the longer duration, as there are resistances in the circuit, there will be I square R loss. This I square R loss is converted into heat. Now, because of heat, the temperature of the transistor will increase. We know that all semiconductor devices, they are sensitive to the temperature. So, because of that, what will happen in case of this transistor? Here, the number of charge carriers in the emitter, in the collector, as well as in the base, they will increase because of thermal agitation. As the number of charge carriers increases, the base current will increase. This increase in the base current, it will lead to the increase in the collector current. When the collector current increases, the amount of heat produced will increase. This increased heat will increase the ejection of charge carriers, which will increase the base current. This will increase the collector current, and this will be the cumulative process where your transistor may be burnt away also. So, this is known as thermal runaway. So, to avoid this, we use this negative feedback. Because of this negative feedback, what happens? Because of increase in the temperature, suppose if your collector current increases, then this collector current and the emitter current, they are approximately same. So, the drop in the RE will increase. This increase in the drop in the RE gives the negative feedback. So, the net input to the transistor will get reduced, and because of that your IC will get reduced. So, as IC gets reduced, now the increase in the temperature or the cumulative effect will be nullified, and because of that we can avoid the thermal runaway condition, and because of that your circuit will become stable. So, this RE basically provides negative feedback which increases the stability of the amplifier. Now, the next is, see, when we are providing negative feedback, the net input to the amplifier gets reduced. Because of that your output will also be reduced, and because of this the gain of the amplifier gets reduced. So, this is the drawback of the negative feedback. Negative feedback gives us the stability, but at the same time at the cost of gain. So, it reduces the gain. So, that is the drawback. Now, to minimize the effect on the gain, what we are doing is that to minimize the negative feedback or to reduce the negative feedback, we are using here one capacitor. Now, if you connect this C, that is emitter bypass capacitor, then what will happen here? The current which is flowing through the emitter, it has got AC as well as DC content in that. So, if this is not there, then in that case AC and DC both the currents will be flowing through RE. But if you connect this C, we know that for AC capacitor is short circuit, capacitor acts as a short circuit. So, we know that always current follows the low resistance path. So, our AC current will flow through this, as this is the low resistance path, and DC will only go through the RE. So, because of that the net voltage produced in the RE, it will be less as compared to the previous case where CE was not there, and because of that your negative feedback will be reduced, and because of which the effect on the gain will be less, and in this way we can minimize the effect of the negative feedback. At the same time we can achieve the stability also. So, that is why we have these components in this particular circuit. Now, see, because of these capacitors which are connected here, here and here, what happens is that in this case if I want to apply DC input, can I apply? No, because if I apply DC input, this acts as open circuit for DC. So, it will not allow DC to go to the base of the transistor. So, it will not be amplified. Okay. And again, suppose if at all if it comes here, this acts as open circuit, so it will not allow it to go to the output. Okay. So, anyway, means DC we can't amplify with this particular amplifier, but in operational amplifier we can amplify AC as well as DC. So, in this case this amplifier we can't use as it is. So, what we have to do is in this case, so what you are supposed to do is here you can't use this capacitor, okay, you can't use this capacitor, you can't use this capacitor, okay. As you can't use this capacitor means you can't use this also, okay, you can't use this R1, you can't use this R2. So, if you can't use this, then we have to have some supply here. See, like here in this case, see, this is the positive supply which we call it as plus VCC, okay, which we call it as plus VCC, okay. And what is the purpose of this? This is to bias the collector junction, which biases in reverse bias. Now, if I don't use this, I have to bias the emitter junction, and for that I have to use another supply which I call it as minus VE, okay. So, if I use another supply like this, then I need not use capacitors, and now my both junctions will be biased. This JC will be reverse bias, JE will be forward bias, my transistor will work as an amplifier and it can amplify both AC as well as DC. So, ultimately I will have an amplifier circuit, okay, which will look like this. Okay. So, this will be minus VE, this will be plus VCC, this will be RC, this will be RE, and this will be input V1. I will call this as output VO1. Okay. So, this will be my amplifier. So, to this I can apply AC or DC input and I can have the amplified output signal here. So, this is my amplifier which can amplify AC as well as DC. But now, in case of operational amplifier, we know that it performs mathematical operation. We know that to perform mathematical operation, for example, if I want to perform addition, how many numbers I require? I should have 2 numbers. So, if you want to have 2 numbers, it means I should have V1 as the one number, V2 as the another number, and then if I want to add these V1 and V2, I will apply those 2 numbers to that circuit which can perform addition, and I will have the one output. So, I will need one more amplifier similar to this, okay, and then I will connect those 2 amplifiers in a proper fashion, so that I can have single output, and that output will give me the mathematical operation, that is the addition or whatever means I want to perform. So, here is that final circuit you can see. So, here this plus VCC, RC, Q1 transistor, RE minus VE, okay, and this V1. So, this is the one circuit. Now, this is similar to this, you can see, okay, this one Q1 circuit, okay, this Q1 circuit. Now, see this plus VCC, RC, Q2, RE minus VE and V2, this is the second circuit. So, this is first, this is second, okay. And now, what I have done is, I have connected these in such a fashion that here I will have one output, here I will have another output. So, this output will be what? VO2, this output will be VO1, and I am taking the output across these two terminals, and let us I am assuming that this is positive and this is negative. Okay. So, in this way I will have the output. So, I will have two inputs and one output. Now, if I make this arrangement, how basically this circuit works, that we will see. Now, we will see the working of this circuit. Okay. Now, to understand the working of this particular circuit, let us see okay. So, let us see the working of this particular circuit. Now, see, in this case we are applying V1 input. So, when we apply this V1 input, so we will get the output. I will write this as A into V1. So, this is my VO1 output. Okay. Then I will have another output, that is VO2, that is equal to A into V2. Okay. So, let us say this is equation 1, this is equation 2. Okay. Now, see why the gain of both is same, because Q1 and Q2 are almost same. Okay. Then next is I will have the final output VO, that is equal to what? VO1 minus VO2. Okay. Now, let us say this is equation number 3. Okay. So, this is equation number 3. Now, what I will do is, let us put the values of VO1 and VO2 from equation number 1 and 2 into equation number 3. Okay. So, if you put these values into this, then what I will get is VO is equal to, VO is equal to, I will have A into VO1 minus A into VO2. So, I can write this as A into VO1 minus this should be A into V1, this is A into V2. So, this will be equal to, I will write this as, so here I will write this as VO is equal to A into V1 minus A into V2 from equation number 1 and 2. So, this will be equal to A into V1 minus V2. Okay. VO is equal to this. So, I can write here as VO is directly proportional to V1 minus V2, and proportionality factor is what? A. So, this indicates that my VO is directly proportional to the difference between the two units. So, that is why this amplifier is known as difference amplifier. This is known as difference amplifier. Okay. Now, in this difference amplifier it has got different types. Okay. It has got different types. Now, see, if in the difference amplifier, if I am having two inputs V1 and V2, then it is known as dual input differential amplifier. If I am taking the output at these two collectors, okay, see, as Q1 and Q2 are same, collector resistances of both are same, okay, plus VCC minus VA applied to both the transistors Q1 and Q2 is same. So, the collector potential level of both the transistors Q1 and Q2 is at the same level. So, if I am taking the output at these 2 points, it is known as balanced output. Okay. So, this is one way of taking the output, balanced output. And if I am taking the output at only one terminal, not at the both. So, if I am taking the output at this terminal with respect to ground, it is known as unbalanced output. So, this is known as unbalanced output. Okay. So, as far as this difference amplifier is concerned, it has got different 4 types. One is, see, one is dual input balanced output differential amplifier. Another is dual input unbalanced output differential amplifier, and other 2 types are basically based on the only single input used. Okay. So, if I am using only one input, it is known as single input differential amplifier. So, other 2 types are what? Single input balanced output differential amplifier and single input unbalanced differential amplifier. At that time, other input will be 0. So, these are the 2 types. Now, these 2 types, dual input balanced output differential amplifier and dual input unbalanced output differential amplifier, these I have shown here because they are important and they are used in the operational amplifier. Okay. So, this is very, very important because this differential amplifier forms the fundamental functional block of an operational amplifier. So, its understanding is very, very important. Then, the next important point is what we will study is, now here you can see, okay, now here see what we will do is, yeah, we know that, see, if V2 input is applied, for example, I will apply V2 input of x volt and my V1 input, okay, is 0, okay, V1 is not applied, okay, V1 is not applied, suppose it is 0. Then in that case, see, in that case, in this expression, if I put those values in this expression, then what we will be getting, you can see. So, if my V1 is 0, my expression for VO, okay, so there is a difficulty in writing, okay, my VO expression will be what? Minus A into V2, okay, because V1 is 0. So, my VO will be this. Now, see, if my V2 is positive, my VO will be what? Negative. Okay. If my V2 is negative, my VO will be what? Positive. Okay. It means if I am applying positive input, okay, if I am applying positive input, my output is negative. If I am applying negative input, my output is positive. Means my input is getting inverted at the output. So, that is why this V2 is known as inverting input. This is known as inverting input. Now, if you see for V1, okay, see, if V1 is applied, maybe suppose Y volt, and if V2 is 0, then if you put these values into this equation for VO, then your VO will be equal to what? A into V1. Okay. So, if my V1 is positive, my VO will also be positive. If my V1 is negative, my VO will also be negative. It means my input polarity is maintained at the output. It means my input is not inverted. So, that is why this V1, this is known as non-inverting input. Okay. So, this is known as non-inverting input. Okay. So, these 2 inputs, V1 is known as non-inverting input, V2 is known as inverting input. Now, with this knowledge, so see, in this difference amplifier, the one input V1 is known as non-inverting input, V2 is known as inverting input. So, these are the 2 inputs. So, with this knowledge, now we will see block diagram of the typical op amp. Now, in the typical op amp, see, we have already seen that op amp is a very high gain direct coupled amplifier. Okay. So, basically in an amplifier, if you want to have a very, very high gain, then in that case the basic requirement is you have to go for multi-stage amplifier to get very high gain. So that's why in operational amplifier it has got multiple amplifiers, multiple stages which are connected with each other. Now when you go for multiple stages, how you connect the output of one stage to the next stage, depending on that there are different ways of coupling, and in operational amplifier we use direct coupling. So that's why it is a very high gain direct coupled amplifier. Okay. Now see, these different stages are shown here in this. Okay. In op-amp we have, see, this one input stage which has basically has got the multiple stages in that, then we have got intermediate stage, then we have got level shifting stage, and then we have the output stage. So there are 4 stages. Now what are the functions of these stages, we will see. So obviously see, what is the job of the input stage? To provide the facility to give the input. Okay. And in op-amp this input stage is what? It is a dual input balanced output differential amplifier, which just we have seen. And in this dual input amplifier, as its name itself indicates, it has got 2 inputs. This is input 1 and this is input 2. So this input 1 is known as inverting input, input 2 is known as the non-inverting input. So these are the 2 inputs. Then another job of this input stage is what? To provide very high input resistance, Ri. Okay. So its job is to provide very high input resistance. Okay. So its job is to provide the facility to apply the 2 inputs, then to provide very high input resistance, and its another job is to provide very high gain. For that it has got multiple stages of dual input balanced output differential amplifier in that. Okay. Then we have seen that in case of this balanced output differential amplifier, we take the output at the 2 collectors, okay, collector 1 and collector 2. So this is the output we are taking at the last stage of the, means last dual input balanced output differential amplifier, we are taking the output. This output we are giving to the next intermediate stage. We know that in case of the, suppose, adder, okay, we should have 2 inputs, but how many outputs we should have? Only 1, but here there are 2. So to have the 1 output, we are using here dual input unbalanced output differential amplifier. So we will have only 1 output. Okay. Then this output we can take directly as a final output, but we can't, because in this case at this stage, if we are taking the output at one of the collector of the transistor, then it will have some DC level associated with that because of the biasing supply. And this DC level which is associated because of the biasing supply, it will act as an error when we want to amplify DC. So we have to, means, bring that DC level, unwanted DC level, to 0. So that's why we have a level shifting stage. Now this level shifting circuit is basically emitter follower. Okay, this is basically an emitter follower, or this is basically common collector configuration of BJT amplifier. Okay. So we are using this emitter follower with constant current source, so that we can shift the level of the DC signal to 0. Then the next, after shifting the level, again in place of taking the output directly, we have the output stage. Now the purpose of this output stage is what? To provide low output resistance. So that is the job of this output stage, and it is complementary symmetry push-pull amplifier. So in this way we can have the output from this. So this is the block diagram of typical op-amp. Now I hope up to this point now all of you have understood, that is how we can get an operational amplifier. Now once we understand this block diagram of an operational amplifier, then we will see some more details about this operational amplifier that we will see in the next class. I hope up to this all of you have understood. If you have any doubts, you can ask me offline on WhatsApp, or you can email me, and definitely I will, means, answer those queries. So here we will stop, and we will, till we meet in the next class. Take care. Thank you very much.